We're back with our expert panel to discuss SCOTUS possibly overturning Roe versus Wade. Neil, you took issue with something I said in the last block. What was it?
So you had said this is the first time the Supreme Court, if this draft opinion becomes law, taken away a right.
A right.
And unfortunately, the court has taken away rights before. Take, for example, the Voting Rights Act, which I defended successfully in 2009, only to have the Supreme Court in 2013 rip it away and say the Voting Rights Act was unconstitutional in the Shelby County case. And here's why this is so significant for this debate. The Alito draft says we should return the issue to the people, to the voters. This is a Republican Party that's bent on trying to take the vote away from people time and again. And you can't talk the language of democracy on Monday and then the other 6 days of the week try and rip it away from the American people or invade the Capitol in order to do so. I mean, it's just not a plausible argument in today's society.
You know, Professor Greer and Reverend Sharpton, we got to talk about Justice Clarence Thomas and a comment that he made. We're going to put it up on the screen where he said, as a society, we are becoming addicted to wanting particular outcomes, not living with the outcomes we don't like, Thomas said. We can't be an institution that can be bullied into giving you just the outcomes you want. The events from earlier this week are a symptom of that. Professor Greer, I read that. All I could think was, child, please, are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah. I read and reread that, Jonathan, several times, largely because Clarence Thomas is responsible for aiding and abetting the erosion of our institutions and our democracy, to say nothing of his wife. And so the fact that he would actually write that lets us know that he is so detached and so committed to his right-wing white nationalist philosophy of dismantling American democracy on a whole host of levels. And as you and Neil have pointed out, it started with voting rights a few years ago. It is right now we're in the moment with women and Roe v. Wade, but we know that it'll extend to not just gun control, but LGBTQ plus rights and contraception and so many other things. And we cannot count on Clarence Thomas to have a clear eye on any of these matters. We know that he is really committed to taking rights away, not just from African Americans, but the larger American public writ large.
Mm-hmm. And Rev, I'd love to get your insight on what Justice Thomas said there.
Well, first of all, I think he's making it clear that what Judge Alito said is exactly what he and others are willing to support. Secondly, if he's talking about people not liking and being addicted to outcomes, he ought to tell his wife that about the 2020 election, because she was part of the election protest, and she was part of January 6th. That was trying to act like that election didn't happen. But thirdly, I think that what is very telling is he's not arguing about the constitutionality or the rightness of whatever decision they're coming with. He is talking about people's popular view or get or go along with it or get used to it or get over it. He's not talking law, which is the politicization of the Supreme Court. And that is why people are losing a lot of faith in the court, because he is actually saying, I'm not arguing law, I'm arguing my view, and you get over it if you don't like my view. And I think that that is dangerous, and that is something that we need to deal with.
And Professor Greer, you guys were succinct in your responses, so we have a little bit of time left. But Professor Greer, one of the things that leapt out at me in that leaked draft opinion from Justice Alito is a whole thing in there about the court shouldn't be concerned about reputational damage if they were to overturn Roe versus Wade. To my mind, what Justice Alito is doing there, speaking of bullying, is trying to bully the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Or I'd love your view on that.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has the honor and the privilege of speaking to the future minds of the American public, you know, every week as a college professor, you know, I see the fact that they have no faith or very little faith in the Supreme Court as an institution. And as I try and teach them about, you know, the separation of powers, as we walk through Federalist 51 and think about checks and balances, they are absolutely disgusted to think about Supreme Court justices as hyper-partisan beings. And so in this particular moment, when we know that it is so important for us to pay attention to who our senators are, because a president is the person who nominates a justice, and the Senate are those individuals who confirm said justice. So I'm helping them understand the interconnectedness and how we can actually help influence the future of the court somewhere down the line. But I think that, the missed opportunity for Barack Obama to put someone else in the court, thanks to Mitch McConnell, with the failure of Merrick Garland being put on the court, the failure of Ruth Bader Ginsburg stepping down, the fact that Donald Trump was able to put in several justices, and we know that they lied under oath about how they feel about Roe v. Wade. And so we're seeing this time and time again, and I think young people, unfortunately, are getting so disgusted with the hyperpartisanship, especially the white nationalist hyperpartisanship of the Supreme Court. It's actually turning them off, and it's our job to help usher them and put them in the center of their own democracy.
And Neil, we're out of time, but I want to give you an opportunity to give us some final thoughts on the legal stuff that's presented by this Alito opinion. What should we be paying attention to as we, wind our way to the end of the court's term?
It's not just the bottom line that Roe versus Wade, it's overruled. It's how they got there. The Alito draft has this kind of ridiculous historical test, which will turn back the clock and threaten everything from gay marriage to contraception laws to possibly even Brown versus Board of Education will probably flunk their test. And this is the result of a radical move by Mitch McConnell and others who monkeyed with the court. And the fruits of that are now, unfortunately, starting to be seen by the American people.